Hello, thank you for joining us. Today we are diving into one of the most powerful and moving musicals of the past decade, Come From Away. Joining us today are the directors of the production here at Stagecrafters, Ed Guay and Edmond Guay, a father-son team bringing their shared history, unique perspectives, and deep love of storytelling to this project. Together they're crafting a vision for Come From Away that honors the heart of the show while offering something fresh and uniquely Stagecrafters. This production opens on September 11th and runs through September 27th. We'll talk about what makes this show so special, how they're approaching it as collaborators, and how you can get involved. Adam and Ed, thank you so much for joining us today. For those who might not know, what is Come From Away and what makes it such a unique musical?
Well, Come From Away was opened on Broadway in 2016, and it tells the incredibly powerful but poignant and personal story of a small town in Newfoundland, Canada, way out there on the East Coast, a small town called Gander, a town that only had 9,000 people in it. And Gander is home to one of the world's largest airports that really is no longer in use. But on the morning of 9/11, we all know what happened. All of the incoming flights from Europe had to be diverted because the United States closed their commercial airspace. And there were 7,000 people on the airplanes. So the town became twice the size in one day, and the musical is about how these ordinary people helped these frightened, confused, international folks deal with a complex, confusing tragedy, and how everyone really came to bat for something that was extraordinary.
What I would add to that is, imagine, what if you made a musical about that story? Would it be good? Would it be bad? Did they do a good job? Yes. Like, the musical is the best version of that story you could probably imagine. Music is wonderful. The script is very well written. It's extremely well realized. It is a musical I think a lot of people have heard of before, but maybe haven't gotten acquainted with the actual material of the show. And of course, we hope to get people acquainted with it when we do it.
Yes.
And what is your vision for this production? How might it differ from what audiences expect, especially if they've seen the show on Broadway or maybe the Pro Shot?
Yeah, there is a Pro Shot available on streaming services that I think a lot of people have probably seen. Of course, we've seen it.
Multiple times.
Yeah, and we've always wanted to take some different approaches from what people expect. We don't just want to do what the Broadway show does. We do not currently plan to have trees visible in the background, for instance, which is great. Hey, the Broadway show is awesome. It's very moving. We're not knocking it at all. But things we wanted to emphasize that are not the same way that the Broadway show does it. We really wanted people to walk away from the show with the sense that this is a show about how a community arises and thrives at a time of tragedy, time of crisis. It's about this specific community and this specific crisis, but the way that it's told, we want that to be universalized. We really want people to relate to their own communities that have gone through times of crisis and how they have found friends and family around them and have a more universal sense. We also believe the show is a lot about memory. The show was about memories when it came out because it was about 15 years past 9/11 when it came out. Now it's been 25 years, even further. And memory takes on a different effect than realism. There are sketches, ideas, kind of heads in your imagination. We want to lean into that. And then finally, we want to lean into the fact that this is a show being told by us right now. This is a theater company. We are a group of people who are putting on this show. And so we want to surface the performers and the company a little bit more than in most productions of this show. I think in most productions of any show, really. So we want to lean into this sort of performing troupe who is telling this story. We're not going to be adding script in large amounts, but in every little choice that we make, we hope that people come away not just getting to know the people of Gander that are being portrayed, but the people of Stagecrafters, people of Southeastern Michigan Community Theater, who have chosen to tell the story.
The whole idea being, like what Adam was saying, is that memory has this powerful effect on us. When you think back to a memory of your life, the good things become better, the bad things become worse, colors become so much more vibrant, but on opposite ends of the spectrum. Black and white seems to disappear. So we really wanted to embrace this idea of memory, and that's going to go into some of the artistic choices we've made on the visual end. But, we will utilize all the different aspects of what makes a theater piece theater with unique props and how they're used and how they're implemented in the show, and to break that fourth wall even before the show starts. So that when that actor then goes to the stage, there's already a connection from the audience. Then the layer of storytelling continues. So being very play within the play, so that we reinforce this idea that we're telling the story to you. Now maybe you can go tell that story to somebody else.
Incredible. Come from away to see the show, come away with a beautiful message to bring to your communities. You are a father-son directing team.
We are.
Can you tell me a little bit about your histories with theater in general and Stagecrafters?
Well, Adam is my son, so there's a history right there. I remember sitting at the piano, playing and getting ready for a Christmas service at my church, and I needed to play a certain song that I always have this counter melody. And Adam, I believe, was 5 at the time. And I'm playing the song, and I call him over and I say, Adam, when I start singing verse 2, I want you to sing Silent Night. I want you to hum it. Then when I sing verse 3 of the song, I want you to sing Silent Night. And then I want you to sing Silent Night again, and I'm going to do a harmony. And he goes, okay. And so I started playing the song, and as soon as he came in, it was spot on. I was singing in his ear, and I'm trying to distract him, and he's just singing straightforward. He knows exactly what he has to do. He walked away, said, can I go play now? I go, yeah, go ahead. And I leaned over to my wife and I said, I think we have somebody who really knows music and really knows performing. And he was like 4. He was like 5 years old. My own background is I'm a teacher, or I was a teacher. I don't know. Are we always a teacher? I started teaching in 1982, moved to Avondale in 1987 and taught there for 30 years, retired in 2017, and then took long-term sub-positions at various schools over the last 8 years. But I was a theater, speech, and English teacher, and my family lived in our school district. So Adam was not just my son, he was my student. And he did every show in his 4 years. And finally, his last show of his senior year, he asked to student direct it. So that was the first step up.
I got a varsity letter in theater.
Your freshman year, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yeah, I know. Got it early. Yeah, so for me, my first show ever was The King and I when I was in 5th grade, when I played
Rags.
Rags. You're right.
Rags, you were 6 years old.
I was 6 years old. I was one of the youngest kids in Rags. And I did a few shows before high school. I did every show in high school. I went to college for theater. I went to Northwestern University. I did a lot of shows there. And then I moved to New York after college to pursue a career in theater and did no theater.
I'm sorry, I should not have laughed at that.
Follow your dreams, kids. Don't let me discourage you.
But at the same time, you moved to New York during the writer's strike. So there was nothing really new that was coming up. So.
And there was nothing good on TV either because of the writer's strike. Right. It was terrible.
Yeah.
But anyway, I moved to New York and did not do creative, theatrical pursuits for quite a while because there weren't really that many professional avenues. And I had plenty of other things to do. I met my wife. I started my career in what I did now. I became a teacher in the test prep world, and now I still work in kind of education, ed tech. But
geez, where does he get that education background from?
I don't know.
I'm not quite sure.
I eventually moved back to Michigan from New York, though, after 15 years, moved back in 2022. And one of the reasons I had not done a lot of theater, been interested, is because honestly, after kind of having the passion and not being able to work more professionally, I had kind of lost some of the drive. I kind of lost some of the passion, to be totally honest. And it was tough for me to just go see shows. I was kind of in my head about things for the longest time. But I came back, and shortly after I moved back to Michigan with my wife, because my job was remote after COVID, and it made sense we could kind of move back here, though I still love New York. Shortly after I moved back, I saw Ed in Little Shop of Horrors at Stagecrafters. And, I came to the show and I had a great time. I was like, wow, this is the first time I've really had a great time seeing a show in a long time. Except for Hamilton. I loved Hamilton, okay, but Hamilton's the exception.
He called me on the way home from the show in New York. Dad, it's as good as you think it is.
But at Stagecrafters, with the show that Ed was in when he played Mr. Mushnick in 2022, it's like, oh, maybe I can get back into this. And so I got back into it in 2024. I decided to audition for the Stagecrafters season opener production of Rent in 2024. Happens to be a show shirt I'm wearing, if this is something that is on camera. And I got into that show. Thank you to Emily Flarkowski, the director of that show, for casting more than one of the leads, but at least me, somebody who had not done theater in a really long time and willing to trust me with that. Show was a transcendent experience, absolutely life-changing, and really got me in on this system for life, I would say, or as long as I can bear the time. I really fell in love with it all again. I was in The Music Man at Village Players last year. I played Harold Hill.
I was going to say, you weren't just in it, you played Harold Hill.
I was the title role, I guess you could say.
The Music Man.
Yes, that's what they say.
The Music Man.
And then I was in Frozen last year. I played Prince Hans, and well, now we're directing this show coming up here. Getting back into it.
My Stagecrafters background starts when Stagecrafters announced many years ago, I think it was 2009 or 2010, that they were going to close the season with Hairspray, which is one of my favorite musicals. And I happened to be, my students at Avondale, we happened to be doing the show right before Stagecrafters was doing it. And I thought, this would be really cool. So I got to get my foot in the door. So the opening show of that season was A Midsummer Night's Dream. So I auditioned for it and landed the role of Bottom and had an insanely illegal good time doing it, if you know anything about the show. And it's just such fun, and it was so creative, and Ryan did such a great job directing it. But then I had to take a lot of time off because I was still teaching. But once I retired in 2017, I dove both feet, legs, arms, head, everything into local theater. And since then, coming back to Stagecrafters, I did Ragtime in 2018. I played Father, Mr. Mushnick. Then there was the year where I played Friar Lawrence in Romeo and Juliet. Right after that, I played Max in Sunset Boulevard. I was Cogsworth in Beauty and the Beast, and then Pseudolus in Funny Thing Happened on the Way to the Forum. But this is going to be neat because the last time we directed together was Adam's senior year of high school, which was 2003. So this time we get to share space, share ideas, share creativity, but understand that I'm the older one. Only kidding.
And did you make it into Stagecrafters Hairspray?
No, well, I couldn't do it because I was so bummed because I was so excited after Midsummer Night's Dream. It's like, okay, because, our Hairspray from Avondale is going to close and blah, blah, blah. And then Stagecrafters extended the run and added a performance on the night of Avondale's graduation. And since I was the graduation coordinator, I couldn't even try out for the show. There's rumblings that maybe it might be coming back in a couple years.
Maybe Ed will have another chance at
maybe I'll
Edna.
have another. Of course, by then I'll probably end up playing the old man as opposed to the old woman, but that's all right. It's a great show. Any opportunity would be terrific.
Adam, I wonder how much of enjoying Little Shop of Horrors had to do with seeing your dad on stage.
I mean, he was great. I mean, I liked the show in general, and actually...
we did it.
Small world. It was one of my senior year high schools. I played Seymour. But also, NJ was in that show, who was our choreographer for Come From Away. Yep. So, small world. But the show was really good overall, but also I think I was in like front row or second row. I like doing front row.
And you were laughing a lot.
Good time. I was laughing a lot.
And what's interesting,
and I was just like, wow, this is so entertaining. It's just, you really brought a lot to that character. That was when you were missing your tooth.
Yep. I was missing part of my tooth, so I used it.
You didn't wear the bridge. You didn't wear the fake tooth. So Mr. Mushnick was just missing his front tooth the whole time.
It was great.
And no, it was very high energy, and the singing was really good, and you had great on-stage chemistry with Seymour and all the other characters.
Yeah.
And
interestingly enough, the director of that show was a former student of mine.
Oh, incredible.
Jeff Lamont.
That was Jeff, right?
Yeah, Jeff.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Mm-hmm. And what made Come From Away the right project for you two to take on together?
We just sat down and said, we want to do something together. What's going to be something that's on the list that Stagecrafters is considering? And Adam, your favorite possible one was?
Mean Girls.
Yes. And I had never seen the musical. I didn't know anything about the music. Of course, I saw the movie 8 times, but the non-musical, the original. And so we looked at it, and then all of a sudden, the word came down that Come From Away was going to hopefully be available. That's one of the weird things about working with community theater is when a show is released for licensing, for amateur licensing, there is this mad scramble for everyone to say, oh, we want to be the first ones to do it, or let's put it early in the season, or let's do that, So you see these, like when Les Mis became available in 2013 and Beauty and the Beast, and you saw it with Hunchback of Notre Dame, and you saw all these other shows that became super popular, and everyone wants to put their own signature on it. Well, we looked at it and went, wait a minute, Come From Away, a show that says something, which already makes it a stronger candidate. Not to mention, nothing
This
against.
is not a Mean Girls interview podcast.
I was about to say,
I'm not going to go to the mat with you on that. Mean Girls says some important things
They're
too. But Come From
nearly-
Away is very nice. Yeah.
Nearly identical stories.
Yeah, absolutely. It's about a community that, it has to identify itself. But the fact that it's a show, first of all, that's tied to a major event in human history, but then it makes human history very human with these incredible characters from Gander and Environs. And we looked at each other and went, let's go for it. You want to add anything there?
Yeah. To be serious for a moment, after we knew Come From Away, the rights came down, because the rights came down during the time period of after director submissions were being taken, but before presentation. So sort of a midstream development. Mm-hmm. As soon as Come From Away was an option, I don't really think there was much of a question.
Nope. We just wanted to know whether or not we would make 2 presentations for different shows. We knew Come From Away would be one. And then Adam looked at me and said, let's just focus on one. I went, okay.
And, I think this is a difference between the two of us a bit because,
you're taller
Dad,
and skinnier. I'm shorter and fatter. No.
I think you're 1 inch shorter than I am. I don't know.
Whatever.
Difference between the two of us is you've directed 140 shows. You have certainly developed a set of kind of creative skills to find a vision and approach to almost any show that you can think of.
Thank you.
And I think that's totally great. I will say I am newer to directing, certainly coming back to directing after a long time.
You did a lot of stuff at Northwestern.
Well, but I knew that I would need to find a show that really clicked. Sometimes when you see a show, when you read a show, when you listen to the soundtrack, you just start seeing things. You start saying, this is what I want to try.
Yep.
You get you think about, this is a great kind of interpretation. This is a great angle on the story. I want to lead a group of people to tell this story as opposed to maybe wanting to be in it or wanting to see it. But yeah, this show definitely called to me in that way, sort of vision and passion, just unbidden in terms of, the creativity. So I knew it was the thing we wanted to get into the game on.
Yep.
And it sounds like your production team shares that same passion behind the show.
Oh, they're so excited. When we have our meetings, you can just set people. We want to do this with the auditions. We want to do this at the read through. We want to, you can just sense the fire that's there from so many people.
Yeah,
and every single person that we asked said, "Oh my gosh, yes." Including some old friends of mine. I'm sorry, Mark, that you're an old friend of mine, but a former teacher, former high school director, who is a person whose creative ideas I bow before because he's so good. We brought him in. He's going to be our master carpenter and co-set designer. And just immediately, boom, the ideas just start popping out of his head. And knowing that he can build the set that we want, it's like, thank you, Mark. But then there's all these other people, most of them are very, have a long Stagecrafters resume, but there are several people who are coming in either a new capacity within Stagecrafters or new to Stagecrafters completely. And we're very excited about being able to share that.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Expanding our community and keeping some old folks around as well.
Yep.
How are you dividing your responsibilities as co-directors, and how are your individual strengths playing into that? Ed, your experience with 140 shows, and Adam, maybe your acting experience and time in school?
Ed has a really great, I forget what you called it when we were talking about it, a mind's eye for what the stage is going to look like. Right. Stage
pictures and things like that.
And that's important for every show. It's going to be important for this show. I think it's actually, if anything, more important at the Baldwin, because the Baldwin has an unusually high proscenium. So you have a lot of that to figure out. Mm-hmm. So I know I'm going to let you take your choice of kind of what scenes to do in that case to start with. Whereas I am looking to work more directly with the actors, both in terms of the scenes and the characters, but also in terms of, musical theater performance and delivery. This is not the show with the most solo songs in the world, so there aren't like a million to do. But even so, I do plan to work with the actors and to work with our music director, Matt Cush, to handle a good amount of the music. Plus, I am a project manager by trade. So
the spreadsheets are flawless.
So rather, I don't know, famously to those who are aware of it and think it is funny, when I was in Rent 2 years ago, it was a collaboration between multiple members of the cast, but mostly I started it and drove it. We made a timeline of everything that happened in the entire show of Rent, which is more complicated than it might sound because the first act happens over one night, and so it's like minute by minute, and the second act happens over 1 year. But we timed everything out, and we figured it out. And so this is the sort of thing I do for fun when I don't need to do it for a show.
For fun. Did you hear that? For fun.
I'll have to show you my run of show from Frozen, just for my own movement and staging and blocking.
Yeah, so...
how many costume changes did you have in that show?
7.
Oh, my goodness.
There are a lot of people who are well organized working on this show. I don't think we're going to be at a lack of it, but I definitely plan to collaborate with all that and, try to turn things into a bit of a smoother process and sort of checklist things as needed.
As someone who's been very lucky to work with both Ed and Adam on shows here at Stagecrafters, Ed as Pseudolus in A Funny Thing Happened on the Way to the Forum, and Adam as Prince Hans in Frozen earlier this season, the cast that gets to do this show is so incredibly lucky to work with the two of you.
Thank you.
Just that's too kind.
Even from having seen you both from an acting perspective, just the amount of thought and care that you put into the character development behind your own characters, I can only imagine that that's going to be translated into this show
much,
as well.
Sarah.
Oh, absolutely. Speaking of, sparking a passion for theater, you two have certainly been a part of that story for me. So we are recording this interview in March, and this show opens in September.
Yes.
So this far ahead, what does the process look like for co-directing? What are sort of your day-to-day activities that you're doing in preparation for the show?
Well, thank goodness for texting. Because
the production team group chat's very active.
Yes, it's constant. What if we do this? As a matter of fact, while we're sitting here during this interview, texting is blowing up on my phone from the CFA prod team. It's just a matter of we're constantly going back to the source material. We're talking to each other. Hey, let's read the script again. Let's do this again. Let's study the music a little bit more. One of the more unique things we're going to do with the show, I have an old friend who happens to be an artist. Bringing him in to help with whatever it is that we're going to use with the show and seeing his fire get lit and get really excited about it. And, he's talking to some of his friends who have influence on him on how he can do what he wants to do for the show. So there's all these different things. But right now in this early stage, it's like we're anchoring dates. We're figuring out where and when. We're constantly in conversation about, like right now, it's about, well, what are we going to do with the auditions? And since it's a musical, we always yield to the music director.
Mm-hmm.
It is a musical, but it's put together differently than a lot of other musicals. It doesn't have a lot of solo songs. Most songs are groups, but also have talking over them. In fact, and even there aren't even really a lot of monologues because it moves so quickly. There's so many characters talking all the time. So you just got to figure out, okay, what stretch of words are we actually going to ask people to come in and say in order to do auditions? It is a lot of these early, logistics. I mean, frankly, a lot of the work period is all logistics. That's what's kind of cool about theater and, all the collaborative art forms.
Oh my gosh, yes.
There are so
many.
You
stole my line. That's my line. So many. Theater is the most collaborative art form in the world.
Well, it's very collaborative, and it's about solving a long stretch of practical problems in order to make it look like you didn't have to solve that long stretch of practical problems.
Absolutely.
And that's true for the audience that shows up to see the show because, all the magic happens behind the scenes. But frankly, I think it's also true for people who come to audition for the show and a lot of people who work on the show, just not always aware of what the directors and the producers and the designers are doing because a lot of that effort goes towards making things simple and easy and clean for the rest of the collaborators. So there's a lot of that getting done right now. Right. We do have an audition date. The audition date,
Saturday, May 9th. But it's going to be here at the Baldwin Theatre. The interesting thing was as I did say that it was kind of easy to put the staff together, but there were several people who I asked who went no, I want to audition, so it was like, I totally understand that.
It's a scary decision because you either guarantee that you get to be involved in the production
Correct.
and have a hand in the vision and how it gets to be portrayed to the audience, or you shoot your shot and see if you get to do it up on stage.
Yes.
I did hear that as part of your prep, you guys were able to meet with some folks from Gander. Could you tell me a little bit about that?
Well, as we speak right now, Meadowbrook Theater up in Rochester Hills is doing Come From Away. They are actually doing the area premiere of it on a professional level. And as part of their preparation and as part of their community outreach, 4 members of the community of Gander, on whom characters are based, flew in and are meeting with the creative team there. And they, my former student, Mike Sheldon, who is the director at Avondale now, he took over for me. He's got a master. It's crazy. This guy's got a doctorate in theater. He's incredible. But he calls me up 2 weeks ago and he says, 4 people from Gander who are, the mayor of Gander, the mayor of Appleton, the police chief, and the news reporter, they're going to be at my high school doing an assembly for my students. Would you like to come? I immediately called Adam, and it's like, oh my gosh, we're so going to be there. We called everybody else on the production team, but it was at 9:00 on a Wednesday morning. So, being a retired teacher, I could do it. And it was extraordinary because at first it was like, oh my gosh, I'm meeting these real people. But then, oh my gosh, they're just like the musical. And that's a testament.
They were captured so well in the musicals.
Yeah,
It's uncanny. It's kind of like how, the way you would usually think of it is like, oh my gosh, this person who I know, it's like they've been captured and they're coming to life on stage. But we experienced that in the other direction.
Correct.
Because we saw it on stage first. And then we met them, which proved just how much they had been brought to life on stage. And it was just remarkable. I mean, fantastically nice people. Wonderful,
oh my gosh.
Everything you would want them to be. But
and they've
just like the show.
They have traveled around the world promoting an awareness of the what's beyond Come From Away and encouraging. And it was really cool. The message that they left with the students was about being an ordinary person and not being afraid to do extraordinary things. But I loved one of the lines that they said, which was actually, this was from the artistic director from Meadowbrook. Travis said, many people say that you were ordinary people doing extraordinary things, but maybe in the long run, you were extraordinary people doing the most ordinary things. And that's caring for other human beings. And their stories are so rich and so lush and so thick and so real. But that's the big challenge for these actors, because every actor in the show plays at least 2, 3 characters.
It depends on, but
but there are some,
every actor actually plays like 8 characters because there's lots of little scenes.
Lots of little scenes.
But in terms of major
therefore, if whoever gets cast as the gentleman from Britain, he has a British dialect, he has a Newfoundlander's dialect. So there's all this dialect work, which I love to sink my teeth into.
Yes. Shout out Ed, dialect coach for Stagecrafters Murder on the Orient Express earlier this season.
Thank you very much. Small plug. But that meeting them was great.
Incredible. So as you are progressing through this process, how are you imagining balancing your obviously very clear directorial vision with more of the instinct of the actors that you may select from casting, as well as their creativity?
There's an old adage that if you cast the right people, the director's job is 80% done. Theater is the actor's medium. You got to cast the right people and they have to stretch themselves. But it's easy for me to see a cast embrace whatever vision we're going to have for the show because of the purpose of this musical. So
you took what I was going to say.
Which I'm sorry. Should I not? Should I?
No,
we can erase that later.
No, I was going to say my high school theater teacher taught me that theater is the actor's medium.
I've heard that somewhere.
I know.
I'm sorry. Sorry.
Really, though, as with everything, it's a balance. I know that we are really looking forward to casting talented, dedicated, hardworking, collaborative people in the show who are really passionate about what's happening. This is a show where just by dint of who the characters and what's being portrayed is skews to a different demographic than a lot of other shows. I want to say there's maybe one actor / character who's supposed to be under the age of 35 in the whole show. I'm not saying not saying we can't cast people under the age of 35, but character wise, it is older adults, kind of middle aged and older folks who are mostly portrayed. I think it's a great opportunity for community theater and just a lot of actors around here. And I am hoping that from the start, we have people who are, super passionate about it. In fact, I know that we will. I know. But also, I want to kind of fold that over and reinforce and make the work that we do together take on a momentum and a passion of its own, even beyond the story we know that we're telling. I guess I'm setting a really high bar. I want this to be really impactful. Yeah,
there we go.
It's a
high bar
show
that we're not going to limbo under.
Yeah.
There it is. There's the metaphor.
He used to say that a lot in high school. It's a high jump bar, not a limbo stick.
And I think that's a challenge for the two of us because we're father and son, and we have to be on our game as a cooperative pair of people. And I've seen that happen when you've got a theater production and you've got the team who's behind the decision making. They're firing on all cylinders. It's so easy to stretch yourself. I mean, we look at Forum and just how much fun we had with that show because we trusted in Debbie and we trusted in the other people who were part of the entire thing. And that just allowed us to kind of cut loose and do whatever we want to. Like hearkening back to the very first show I ever did here, when you're playing bottom in A Midsummer Night's Dream, you have to go overboard. And I kept asking my director, I said, how far do you want me to go? And he said, when you go too far, I'll let you know. And he never talked to me. So I just kept going and going and going and had a great time while doing it. And then that developed the trust within the mechanicals, that small ensemble of men who perform together. And we're hoping that we come in prepared, if we come in balanced, if we come in knowing not only what we want to do, but the direction we want to go in the process we want to take to get there, and then turn around and say, okay, we respect you and your decisions, and we trust you because we chose you for these roles. I think we can make magic on that stage.
I think every actor wants it to be a collaborative process between themselves and the director. I don't think there's any actor who only wants to do it their way. And I don't really think there's any actor who just wants to be told what to do. And so I think that's right. I think that's the way to think about it. And I think that the kind of two impulses of the actor who is embodying exactly what they're going to do on stage and the director who has a kind of wider vision about the whole show and how everything fits together can be force multipliers on each other and make sure you get both of those jobs done. Absolutely. When the show actually goes up.
I once used the metaphor of the gardener as the director. The director has the script, has the material, has the seeds. And the director can plant the seeds, provide water, sunshine, and manure, but then has to sit back and watch the plant grow. Can't make the plant grow, but watch the plant grow. Now, once the plant has grown, the director can kind of trim away to make sure that it's the shape that they want. And you never know. Sometimes the branch that will grow differently will be exactly what you thought you didn't need.
Oh, that's beautiful. So of course, there are only so many roles to cast in this show. I know you're looking for somewhere between 12 and 16 cast members. Yeah. For folks who, maybe they come out or maybe they're just interested and auditioning isn't their thing, we're hoping that they come see the show once it comes out in September. Yep. So for audiences, what would you say is going to make this production of Come From Away a must-see show at Stagecrafters?
Well, I think the show itself is a must-see. It's a show that I was teaching the day of 9/11. I was teaching in a media class, so I had televisions in my classroom, and the school emptied by 10:30, but my classroom had like 65 or 70 kids in it watching 3 different TVs. It was such a benchmark day in our history, as ugly as it was. And when you think about how many people walk this planet right now who were not alive when it happened, particularly the ones in school. And, like when I was growing up, World War II was history. Even though I'm old, I'm not that old, but, World War II was history. But it wasn't that much of a history. It wasn't that much, that previous. But now it's been 25 years. And when you think that every single person in elementary, middle, high school, and undergrad were not alive when this tragedy happened, that's why this story is so important. The interesting thing, though, is there's very little in this show actually about 9/11. It's about the people who stepped up because of 9/11. And that's a story worth listening to.
Yeah, I mean, 9/11 is as far in the past now as Vietnam was when 9/11 happened.
Yep.
So I do think that, bringing that memory in, I mean, that's one of the themes we want for the show is really important. And we're going to do this show no matter what was happening in the world around us, I think. So I can't really pretend like the selection of the show and the popularity of the show, is immediately reactive to the things that are happening in the world right now. But I do think there is some really important utility in hearing a story about people who, without a question, opened their doors to strangers who were very different from them and learned to speak different languages and learned to assimilate different cultures, and who approached that situation with kindness and community, and who were proven through those efforts because that kindness and community was reciprocated as well.
Right.
Like, it can be hard to believe that that's how the world can work sometimes. And
it's a
that's
nice
one
reminder
of the
of
messages
humanity.
this show sends.
Yep. There's a line late in the show, it doesn't give away anything plot-wise, where one of the characters turns to the other and says, "Why are knock-knock jokes such a failure in Newfoundland?" And she says, "Why?" And she goes,
Yeah, she
no,
said,
well, do the first part.
Oh, she says, "Oh, okay, you start. I'll be the Newfoundlander."
Okay, ready? Knock, knock.
Come on in. The door is open.
And that's exactly what it is. Whether it is, the TV reporter on her first day on the job, or if it was Mayor of Gander who didn't sleep for 5 days, but then turned when they realized they needed to feed all these people and they needed refrigeration, they shut down the hockey game and turned the rink into a giant walk-in refrigerator.
Yeah.
I mean, this was the thinking that said, you just have to do it. And then in retrospect, meeting those 4 people that we met last week, they said, that's what we do. And you begin to wonder, what would I have been like if I was there that day? What would I have been able to step up? And that's the nice challenge of seeing the show.
Yeah. Oh, I have goosebumps. Well, thank you so much, Adam and Ed. We hope that audiences will come see this beautiful show of community coming together in spite of tragedy. And we hope that we will see folks who want to help bring this show to life at Auditions on May 9th. We hope to see you there.
Keep your eyes peeled to stagecrafters.org to learn more information.
And all of our socials, et cetera,
Yes,
et cetera.
everything else.
Yeah.
Facebook and everything else.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Adam and Ed,
Thank
for talking
you.
to me
Yeah,
today.
thank you.
Thank you.